so we have the ability now to understand why we're doing it. One of the children asked the outstanding question: why do we waive the offering? My simple answer was, because Yah said so. Maury, you want to break that down a little bit more? You gave us a quick lesson outside.
Well, one of the things, I mean, if you want to look at the actual motion of it, it may be because if you're in a practical sense, when you're trying to get someone's attention, oftentimes you'll say, hey, hey, you know, like, or behold, or to see, right? So you can see that in the motion, right? But for sure, it is also to prove Yah's faithfulness to Israel for the next 50 days. So if you go back to the original story, which this is all based in, right? When they left Egypt, and then they were going to now travel from Egypt to the next feast, which would be Shavuot, which when they received the law, there was going to be a 50-day journey there. So in those 50 days, we're going to be marking the faithfulness of Yah to take care of us. So it's one of the first lessons that we learned coming out of slavery was that we don't need the slave master to provide for us, but that we are being provided for by Yah. And the proof is having an offering. So if there is a first fruit offering, then that is a good evidence. I mean, it's a good indicator that there will be a latter offering.
Right.
This is the first, and it's good, and it's healthy. It's like, oh, wow, we're gonna have a good year.
Yes, indeed.
And if you guys, this is too deep for right now, but if you study the actual rotation of the wheat offering or the grain offering, you'll find out that there's something about the 50 days that goes through the maturation process. And I think you can eat it at that 50-day mark or something like that, which is kind of deep, right?
Yeah.
So that you've got a first fruit, and then we know that there's going to be another harvest. Once you reap that in, there's going to be another harvest at the end, and that's, of course, when we're going to receive the laws from Yah.
Hallelujah.
What is our reasonable service? To present our bodies as living sacrifice, holy, set apart unto Yahweh. That's what we're learning how to do now. And Abiyah's with us every year. We get a little bit better. We see a little bit clearer. We're also told, Hebrews 10 and 12, what we're doing now. Not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another. And so much more as you see the day approaching. That's right. And that day is approaching faster and
yes,
faster
sir.
each day. Like we are literally living in a time where prophecy is being spelled out. It's almost like a checklist. We can see things happening. We're hearing testimonies every day. I've heard a couple people say, my mom or my dad or my sister or my friend just said Happy Passover. That's a step that they weren't taking last year, 2 years from now, and we're seeing it happen quicker and quicker. Yah is drawing us together. And we're assembling together, honoring Him. So all praises to the Most High Yah for
Hallelujah.
this gathering. As we continue going, for those of you who have to leave, I know some of you have to leave now. Go in peace, of course. And that's, if you're leaving Fresno area, let's make sure we transfer each other's numbers and get hugs and all that before you go. We'll definitely be praying for you as we continue the feast. And when you get home, continue the feast. When you get home, make sure you check yourself and your house. Let that be an exercise like we talked about already. As you go through your house, you might find some more yeast in there. And likelihood, we might find some more yeast in our own lives. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Yeah, so, Hula was mentioning the root word for, go ahead, you can do it. The root word for first fruits and the root word for firstborn are akin to each other. So you get the picture of Yahushua, who is the first fruits of them that sleep, right? And then you get us being born again, so we follow him as the fruits. So the idea, you got the first fruit, which is the head, which is represented in Yahushua HaMashiach, but then we too are to present ourselves also of the first fruits, plural, of them that sleep. And I think that that's very interesting, especially now. When you think about you and I coming up out of captivity, coming out of not knowing who we are. I mean, if you want to use the picture of sleep, and now we're waking up.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like we're the first batch of people that's waking up.
Hallelujah.
It's amazing. So it's just another insight to it.
Hallelujah.
Oh yeah, and of course, that's a good one too. Messiah was lifted up. He was raised up.
That's right.
Yeah. So as an offering, and then he told Mary Magdalene, who was holding him. Remember, she thought he was the gardener. And she said to him, "Sir, if you have taken the body, or if you know where they have taken the body, would you please tell me?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Miriam is me." And she said, "Rabboni," which is my master, my teacher. This is really you. And then she was hugging him so tight, he was like, "Hey, I gotta go wave the offering." And so she let go, and he ascended to the Father. But that also represented physically, he actually went up. So he was lifted up in crucifixion. He was lifted up to the presence of the Father, and obviously, his offering was accepted.
Hallelujah.
So,
Hallelujah.
All praise to the Most High.
The first fruit offering is also connected to, like, whenever you're offering this grain, it's going to be connected to what we call in English Pentecost or Shavuot. And so the grain that you use to make the bread is going to be the same one that you're going to have for Shavuot. Because remember, you got those days that Hamashiach is dwelling with us as well. And so it's interesting that first grain offering that you're going to use here for first fruit to offer is going to be that same thing in which he eventually completely ascends back into the right hand of the Messiah.
Hallelujah.
So just real quick, because we've heard this word Pentecost.
Right.
So I believe it's Latin or Greek. The word penta means 50. So like a pentagram, 5. So the penta is 50 days from the first fruits to Shavuot. So that Pentecost, like, that's just to bring that into perspective.
and really, in Hebrew, the emphasis was the 49 days. Remember, he read, you will count 7 sevens. It'll be 7 weeks, because in Hebrew, the 7 is the number of completion. So whenever you have like 7 sevens, it's like, this is very, very important. And of course, Shavuot is when they were going to receive the Torah. So the reason why we get the word 50 from the 7-7, which is very, very important, is because it's then on the next day after the 7 sevens have been observed. Right. So we're supposed to observe those 7 sevens, then the next day we're supposed to celebrate. And we celebrate by receiving the law, which is the perfect picture of the book of Acts. It says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, which means they had gone through the 7-7, and then the very next day, the Ruach entered into the room and filled the people. And, so it's a beautiful, all this is, and nobody could have wrote that, by the way, and then had it actually happen like 5,000 years later, 4,000 years later.
Part.
So it's just a very beautiful, it's perfect.
Hallelujah. Torah.
Beautiful thing. I love cone.
For the rest of the week, for the rest of the feast, or who's leaving? Let me ask that question. Anyone leaving today?
No,
or
not
tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
What's it? In the morning?
Somewhere late morning.
Late morning? Okay.
Next.